And so if your training is not documented, if you can't prove that someone's been trained on how to use a deep fryer, on how to clean a deep fryer, and they then burn their hands, well, you are now personally responsible for that exercise. And not that that wasn't always the case, but in today's litigious world, we need to be much more aware about how we as managers, as people that work in an industry, are under a much different microscope than it was a long time ago.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Private Club Radio, club industry source for news, trends, updates, and conversations. And when we say clubs, private clubs, we mean country clubs, city clubs, golf clubs, yacht clubs, athletic clubs, military clubs, all the private member clubs. I'm your host, Denny Corby. Thank you for joining us today. This episode, I chat with James Cronk. James Cronk, Cronkinator. He is a co-founder of the Golf Industry Guru, golfindustryguru.com, The Gig, which provides online education for golf course owners and operators. From flipping burgers at Earl's to flipping the script on golf industry training. James, you have done it all. Here to spill the beans on the good, the bad, and the outdated when it comes to training. And you're going to hear to share the secrets that are going to turbocharge our club's success. Get ready for a dash of humor, a pinch of wisdom, and a whole lot of insights. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome James Cronk.
Denny, it's a pleasure to be here. I love it. What a great introduction.
I was like, either he's going to hate me or love me.
No, I love it. Hey, we don't want to be boring. We don't want to be boring. We got to entertain people. Well, that's the key of training is make it fun. So anytime you can make things fun, and Denny, you seem to be an expert at making things fun. So I love the introduction.
How has training evolved over the years, and what's it like in the current climate?
Well, depends who you ask, Denny. I would propose to you and share with you that in my humble experience in 30 years in the club industry, that there's some people that still don't train. So, sometimes training is non-existent. Training is here's your apron and table number 24, just sat down and go take an order. Or, if you've worked in a kitchen before, then there's the line and start flipping burgers, like you said. So, but I would say that, how training has changed is that those clubs that are leaders that attract the right people, that are able to keep people, that are able to create a culture that delivers a great experience, have learned that by engaging their people and helping their people be better, which is what everyone wants that comes from training, it makes people have more fun and enjoy their jobs better. It's like I gave a presentation this morning actually to a group, and we were talking about hockey. So Denny, I'm a Canadian, and so I'm going to use some hockey references if that's okay. I'm a crazy Canuck, but because we were talking about training and a team doesn't start the season and then never train again. Like when the first game starts, they don't stop training, they don't stop practicing, they don't stop trying to get better. They're constantly trying to get better every single day. And the clubs that are killing it, in my humble opinion, that have got a great experience, that have happy members and happy staff and are hitting all their targets, they're always training. And I think that's a little bit different than how it was when I first got in the business.
How do you, so the continual training, so the hardest part is starting how do you keep it going? Like what's the key to keeping it going? Because I think that's probably what happens with a lot of people is like they start and let's just, one thing leads to another. Oh, we're going to postpone until tomorrow or like whatever. What's the key to keeping it going?
I think people mistake training as a task as opposed to understanding that training is a way, it's a value. So you go to a club and there's a manager and you say to the manager, What's something new that you've done in the last 4 months to make things different or better? And the answer is we do the same thing we've always done. This is how we do things. This is the tradition that we have. This is how we do. That's how we do things around here, son. And or you have an attitude of how can we be better every single day, right? That concept of Kaizen, of continual improvement. So, I think to answer your question, you have to have a belief that you can always be better every single day. It's the Ricky Potts 1% better every day philosophy of always constantly trying to improve and trying to improve your business, your people, the way you do things, the way you greet people, the way you serve a table, the way you cut the grass. If you're always trying to improve, then training just becomes part of getting better, right? It's just a philosophy and an attitude. So I think it starts from the top. You have to your leadership has to believe in the concept that we can always be better, and if you believe that, then you will always be trying to get better, and that comes from getting better by doing training, by doing new things, right?
Yeah. All right. So let's say I'm, Jimmy John. I'm a GM over at Shanksville Springs. I think I have like a good training, program. How can I know if my training is good? Like, is there like a barometer that I can like use, be like, I think my stuff's pretty good, or I can just like, use it to be like, oh, maybe I think I might need some help here.
Yeah, no, that's first of all, Shanksville Country Club. I love that name.
Shanksville Springs.
That's an awesome Shanksville Springs, even better. Shanksville Springs. There must be a pond somewhere. Shanksville Springs. Well, Mr. Shanksville Springs, the first thing you got to do is ask your people. So, I'm assuming, Jimmy John, that you are surveying your team on a regular basis, right? And getting their feedback and having one-on-one sessions with your team. And in those one-on-one sessions or in that annual survey, asking the question, do you have the right tools and training to be successful in your job? And if, 9 times out of 10, the answer is yes, there's 2 things that are happening. Either 1, you are doing it, or 2, people don't have an attitude of getting better, right? Because if the answer to that question is you're actually not getting better and making the experience better and performing at a higher level, like the KPIs, the results of training is in guest and customer satisfaction and employee satisfaction and in financial results, right? Those are the things that we measure our business by. So that's the standard. That's how we measure success, or however you measure success. New members, member retention, member satisfaction, achieving a budget, whatever are the KPIs you're using. And so then from there, everyone is striving to deliver that. So if those numbers aren't improving, I would propose to you that your training is not helping people get better. Because if they were getting better, those responses, your net promoter score would be higher. Your results would be greater. Everyone would be making more money. Those are all the measures of success. And so, what I find, as I said, is that what an operator needs to ask is, are my people finding new and improved ways to do things? Are we becoming more efficient? Do I have staff that are growing, that are coming from being a back shop kid to the back shop supervisor, to being the assistant golf professional, to being the director of golf, to being the general manager? Our careers progressing.
That sounds a lot like your career.
That is exactly my career. But you got to add in. You got to add in. That's right. Then you got to add in the consultant part and then the et cetera part. But thanks, Denny. You're totally right. You're totally right. That's well, and you know what? And you know what, Denny? To thank you. That's a good segue. I'll add to that. when I got in the golf business, I was 28 years old, formally, to get in the golf business, and there was only two people I wanted to work for. Only two. They were the best head professionals known in my city, in my area.
Village.
And one of them was actually working in England at the time, so I couldn't work for him. So I waited 7 months before I finally was offered a job as a back shop kid to work at the only one facility, because I was smart enough back then to know that if you want to be the best, you have to work for the best. And so I wanted to learn from an individual that I had great regard for at that time, and still do, and created an environment of improvement. And like he embraced an environment of improvement. So I think that's also what I would say. Once again, it gets back to you either live and breathe getting better, therefore training, or you just do what you've always done because it's what's got you where you are, wherever that might be.
If you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to get what you always got. Something like that.
Exactly.
I don't know. Depends
exactly. Definition of insanity. Blah blah blah. Doing the same thing, expecting different results.
Yeah.
Everyone uses that.
I was just chatting yesterday with Josh Paris down at Old Town. He was saying how it was a really great quote. I forget who he even quoted, but it was saying how when it comes to change, people aren't afraid of change. It's the transition from, getting to that change. It just felt like the right moment.
That's a great one. So, I mean, my favorite quote about training, by the way, is the only thing worse than training your employees and having them leave is not training them and having them stay. Right? That's a kind of a famous quote about training, which is that we people worry about, if I invest all this time and effort and money into helping this person be better, and what if they go somewhere else? What if they pack up and they move down to Shanks Springs down the street? Well, what if you train them and they don't leave, and you don't train them and they stay, and then they don't do a very good job.
No, because I was going to bring up my friend down at Silver Spoon Sands, Bobby Kelm, and he does not do any training. So how does he even start?
Well,
what's the first thing? Like, how do you know what I mean? Like going, not maybe even going back to basics. Like if you have a training program, like what's just like looking back, hey, I just want to maybe like revamp, or I don't even have one. How do you even start? Like, because that's a big first step. Like how do you even take that one?
It's a big first step, but because of technology, it's now really easy. So we'll talk about that in a second, but let me get back to Bobby's problem. Well, obviously, what probably is the situation with Bobby, let's just extrapolate if we may, because this is common, is that Bobby's got a leadership team that have been there for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And they haven't written anything down. And it's in their heads. And they all know what they're doing. They're competent people. They're skilled people. The problem is if they get hit by a bus, the next person has no idea what's in the filing cabinet. And when they open the filing cabinet, there's documents that haven't been updated for a decade. And one of the things that's different, Denny, today that is very important is about liability and risk. Because what used to happen back in the good old days is, something would go wrong, and the question would be why did that happen? And the answer would be that's just the way we do things. That's how we do things. Nowadays, someone's going to show up and they're going to say, show me the document that confirms that Billy's been taught how to use that walk behind mower. And show me the training that was done. Show me the documentation. Show me Billy's signature that shows that he was trained on how to use that walk behind mower. And so that I can understand, why did Billy cut off his toe? And now the risk and liability on that owner, on that manager, is significant now in this world of of being held accountable. And so if your training is not documented, if you can't prove that someone's been trained on how to use a deep fryer, on how to clean a deep fryer, and they then burn their hands, well, you are now personally responsible for that exercise. And not that that wasn't always the case, but in today's litigious world, we need to be much more aware about how we as managers, as people that work in an industry, are under a much different microscope than it was a long time ago. So getting back to Bobby's problem, the first thing Bobby's got to do is he's got to start documenting what people do on a day-to-day basis. Let's just start with some task lists. Just start with some checklists. Let's just start with what are the 15 things that have to happen when you go home at night? What are the 5 things that need to be done before you start using that $100,000 fairway mower? What are the 9 ways that we're supposed to close out a table, and et cetera, et cetera. Like, so it starts to getting people to document their materials and their content, and then obviously it's to start to make sure that your materials reflect what you want to have happen, because training means nothing if people aren't engaged in the process of understanding why we do something, why we're doing it.
Are there any ways to like gamify, or are there people or tech that have gamification to it?
Yeah. That's a great question. I love this example. I want the old days versus the new days, and sometimes the old days still works. By the way, when I managed a club a long time ago, we started off the season each year with our Olympics, and what happened is that we would get all 250 employees into the clubhouse before we opened, and we would divide them up into teams so that you'd have someone from the kitchen with someone from the restaurant with someone from the golf shop with someone from the outside, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then they would go around to different competitions that were put on by each department. So, for example, the back shop, they had to load a golf cart and pick up a bunch of range balls on the floor of the banquet room. The kitchen, the chef decided, this was back in the days when they had some show on TV, they had to taste test things and identify what it was. And it was super gross, by the way. Like, I never wanted to try that one. But the chef would get all these different foods that people had to kind of, taste and identify what it was. Yeah, exactly. It was like Beer Factor. And of course, the superintendent had the staff out there using a chainsaw of some kind, which was, you couldn't do today. But back then, they were cutting some wood or something. And then the accounting department, I love the accounting department. They played the Price is Right. And staff used to have to stick price tags against the item that was the applicable price, right? And they used to always make it wrong. They used to always guess that my car was more expensive than a mower. And they were always shocked to learn that the mower was double what my car was back then. So anyway, and then of course we gave out prizes and we had pizza, and everyone got to learn the different skills and the different things that all the different departments did, so that they understood that it was a team effort to deliver what we were trying to do, to deliver what we were trying to achieve. And we had great success there from a service standpoint and a team culture standpoint. We had a wonderful, wonderful team culture, because we broke down the silos and got everybody engaged. So you don't need technology to make training fun. You don't need gamification to get people together to understand what everybody does to learn different skills, right? But there are ways through technology. Obviously, there are. Now we're making in our platform, Golf Industry Guru, Danny. When we started 3 or 4 years ago, we started making training videos that were in little chapters of like 5-6 minutes each. Okay. I explained that to someone the other day. They were like, 5-6 minutes. Our staff's not going to watch them for 5-6 minutes. Like, it's going to be like a minute. So now we're making these shorts, because now Instagram and all this other stuff. I mean, the attention span of a 20-year-old, right, is, less than a minute. So now we can't, our training can't be, first of all, some boring binder, that they got to flip through and look at drawings, of how to set a banquet table, and it can't be, some kind of, complicated process. If we want to show them a quick little video about how to do something, if we want to show them something fun, if we want to, obviously we got to personally show them and demonstrate and get out there. But there's lots of different ways that training can be part of your culture, whereby it's not, oh my goodness, we got to train. Oh my, training, we don't have the budget for it. We don't have the time for it. We don't have the people for it. We don't have the, training is just what you do every single day when you're working is training. That's what training should be. It should be, everyone should have that attitude of, how can I show you? Hey, do you know how to do this? Hey, show me how you do that. Hey, how could we do this differently, or do this better? Or I noticed that, when you walked away from that table, you didn't take anything. It's one of my pet peeves, Denny. I noticed that when you left that table with a tray in your hand, it was empty. So it makes more sense, right? If you, when you leave that table, you clear some empty glasses and you clear some dirty plates, or you walk by the other table and grab some of their glasses. Like, just because it's not your table doesn't mean that we're not all cleaning tables and making things more efficient. So, training is an attitude. It's not a task.
So, okay. Staff buy-in is huge, and I happen to know, Bobby Kelm over there at Silver Spoon Sands. He's also having an issue. I don't know why it's so funny to me, but he's having an issue of like staff buy-in just isn't there. Like what do you do at that point? Like, how do you, like, because sometimes you can say, hey, hang out or get off the pot. Sometimes you can't always afford to do some of that, or like, how are ways to re-engage or get some of those people who are on the fence, or are like the old guards, the naughty Nelly nutmegs who are just
Besides getting rid of Bobby.
Listen, Bobby Kelm's doing the best he can.
Bobby's doing the best he can, because if your people aren't engaged, okay, like if you don't have a culture in your club, you have to look in the mirror. Okay, your job as a leader is to create an environment where people thrive. Now, there's lots of obstacles that get in Bobby's way. Okay, there's lots of obstacles. Maybe Bobby can't fire Negative Nelly that's been there for 25 years and is on a contract, and it's going to cost the club, and the club doesn't want to pay the severance, whatever that might be, right? So Bobby's got to find creative ways to kind of create that culture and that attitude. But you, for goodness sakes, Danny, have been in all kinds of clubs, and I have no doubt that if I asked you right now to tell me the difference between a club that is energized and powered on, that have staff that are hitting every single opportunity, versus a club that the energy looks like they just came out of a library session and, are the most boring, dull, unengaging, uninspiring environment you've ever seen, I would propose to you, you're going to be able to identify leadership that represents, the culture represents the leadership. The leadership creates the culture. So it's very important. You can't be a chef anymore and yell at people and throw knives. You're just not going to survive in the
Spoons,
in the
maybe,
restaurant
knives,
business.
not anymore.
Spoons, maybe, but maybe still spoons. But so and a 20-year-old or whatever age, but especially a 20-year-old, they have different expectations. They're I can't get my kids to do the dishes in my kitchen, let alone work in a restaurant and do dishes for 8 hours a day. And the fact is that through their life on their phone and technology and their lack of people engagement, they have a different expectation of that job, right? They have a different investment. They don't look at it like they're coming to learn their career. They don't look like you they owe you something because you're paying them a paycheck. They're like, my cat's sick, I'm going home for 4 hours. If you don't like it, I'm quitting. Right? So we have to adjust our way to engage and create that culture. So Bobby's got to look at what are the things that he's doing or they are doing that is enhancing and creating a culture. So are their staff clear about what's expected of them? Are they learning and do they get to contribute to the process? In the old days, we told someone, I want you to put the fork here and the knife here and the plate over here and the cup here. Now, the best way to do it is to show them the finished product and say, you do it as you see, just get it done. If you want to put the knife first and the fork second and the cup third and the glass over there, I don't care. This is what it's supposed to look like. Use your creativity, use your own inspiration, use the way that you want to do it. If you want to do 18 knives around the table and then come back and do 18 forks and then 18 cups, if it's done in the same amount of time to the same standard that I'm expecting, great. Make it your own, right? They got to make it their own, as opposed to you have to do first A, then B, then C, then D. No one wants to work like that anymore. That's why we have machines. That's what AI is coming. That's why we're going to have burger flippers that are machines, because there's no fun in just flipping a burger for 8 hours a day.
It could be, but
well, hey, and you're right. It can be. And what's critically important from a leadership standpoint that Bobby needs to do, if Bobby wants to create a better culture of his people, then Bobby's got to create a great environment that people love to come to work, and that they love to work with people like them, that are rock stars like them. No one wants to work for losers with losers on a losing team. No one does. So Bobby probably has to look at the quality of the team to make sure that the people that are there every day are people that other people want to be with and want to work and want to walk through a wall for.
All right. So let's look. So, okay. I gotta stop with the characters now. I'm confusing myself. All right. So let's just say, for example, you just have maybe those one or two people who are just a little not quite buying in, not quite,
of course,
or maybe just like disengaged. Maybe they were, now they're, we're starting to like lose them again. As like a leader, what are some ways to re-engage a little bit more on like that personal level? Like, how do you, because I think, sometimes that's a hard line to walk, or like a hard area. If you're like, everything's going well, there's like maybe one or two people, something's going on. How do you fix that little like nugget? Like, how do you get the ship back on track and run a little bit leaner and smoother?
It's unrealistic to think that you can constantly be cleansing, right? And I've managed enough clubs to know it's not a perfect world. It's not a perfect world. And just like a winning team, everyone's got a different part to play. You can't have 22 goal scorers on a team. You need a defenseman, you need a passer, you need a enforcer, you need a goaltender, et cetera, et cetera. And so you're not going to have rock stars in every role, in every position. And sometimes, by the way, you don't want to. I don't need my accountant to be the most personable individual in the room. I need to be really good at making sure that we're not getting people aren't stealing money from us, or that bills are getting paid on time, whatever it might be. I don't need them to be a joke teller. But getting back to your question, I think that as leaders, our job is to try to find out. Everyone wants something. Everyone has an ROI. Everyone wants to feel valued and to know that their time is worth something, that what they're doing. And sometimes it's difficult to pull out of some people, why are they there, and what turns them on, and what gets them excited, and how do they pull? Like, we have to have minimum expectations. So Betty, I know you're not the most positive person. But you can't speak negatively about Stephen to the guest. That's a minimum standard. I don't need you to do ballet dances and sing a song every time you walk in the door. But what I do need you to do is to stop talking negatively about Stephen to the customer because you think that Stephen's lazy. I will manage Stephen. You worry about you. So you have to have minimum standards. You have to have minimum expectations. Now then, It's like any good relationship, Danny. You know how you have a good relationship? You know how you'd be most well-liked person in the room?
Tell me.
You let everybody else talk about themselves.
Be more interested than interesting.
Right. And so it's always the great leaders that I've worked for and aspire to follow are those leaders that are unbelievably good at asking questions. How you doing today? What do you need? How can I help you? Um, what would help make this go faster? I noticed that you're having trouble being engaged in the culture that we're trying to create. Is there something you don't agree with? Is there something that I've said? Is there something that I could do differently? I need when you come to work, I have some minimum expectations that I need. Here they are. A, B, C, D. I have these expectations of everybody. Do you are those fair? Do you think you can deliver? Is there any problem with you've got you've
Yeah.
we've got to but you know what, Denny, that's a hard conversation to have, and most people don't like having hard conversations. So most people avoid uncomfortable conflict conversations, and what I would share with what I would tell a manager is that helps people be better. Like, if not you, who? Like, if not you, your role as a leader is to tell people what they do great, to tell people what they should stop doing, and to tell people what they should start doing. The stop, start, continue kind of. And so it's that's your responsibility. That's your, amongst many other things that your job is to do, to make sure the food is fantastic. Your also is to mentor your team. So yes, chef, having a food cost and delivering a great meal and keeping everything clean and safe and healthy is part of your role. Your other role, in addition to that, your role is to mentor people and to help them be better so that they can go on and have a fruitful career just like you have. And everyone's got to have that attitude. And if you have a manager that doesn't believe that that's their role, well, then you got to find someone that does, because your team can't get better if people aren't committed to improving. In my humble opinion.
Are there any, because you've had a good long career, are there any, I don't know if initiatives is like the right word, but are there any like training initiatives or things that you're most proud of, or that had like a really major impact that you did, that you saw play out?
Yeah. Well, I like trying to make things fun, and I think you can make you can create that culture of getting better without scaring people, right? And the idea that you can have conversations about where we're not doing great, like we're so in our, especially in our business, like first of all, the club business and the golf business and the club business is the weirdest thing ever, right?
Adult playgrounds.
Right? We all understand that, right? Like, it's like literally, you're managing a club, you got 900 bosses, the entitlement that people have, the expectation. I mean, we're not even talking about the customer or the member at the moment. We're talking about managing people, but I'm talking about managing people in an environment that is not even real, in the sense that a normal business would never operate that way, right? You'd never allow 8 people to sit around a room talking about how to make the French fries better, and you have to listen to them. Like in the corporate world, it'd be like, who the heck, you're a plumber, for goodness sakes. Why am I listening to you tell me how to make French fries? Like, just because you eat in a restaurant doesn't know how to run a restaurant, bud. But anyway, that's a whole other topic, Denny, for another day. But I want to get back to your question, which was, yes, there's a couple things that I've done that I still tell today, because they're great little tools that anyone can do. One is called the Best Idea Contest. So the Best Idea Contest is that you challenge the staff to come up with an idea that is going to make the employee experience better, or the guest experience better, or the business be more profitable? And it can be any idea. And then the management team or whomever chooses a winner once a month. And the prize is that in front of the clubhouse, you take the spot, the parking spot where the club captain or the general manager parks. You throw that in the garden, and then you make a new sign, and on the sign you put a light bulb. And that is the parking spot for the winning employee that gets to park there for the entire month. They get to drive to the front of the clubhouse and park their, 1977 Subaru in the most important parking spot right in front of the clubhouse. And what happens is a couple things. One is they're very proud because they won the best idea of the month contest. And the second thing that happens is that everyone walks in the clubhouse, customer member, and says, "Why do you have a parking spot with a light bulb on it?" And then the answer, of course, is, well, we have a contest with our staff that looks for great ideas. And every month, the person that gets the greatest idea gets to park in that parking spot. And then, of course, the next question they will ask is, well, who's parking there now? And what was their idea? And that exercise creates that attitude, with the guest and the member, that you believe in your employees coming up with ideas and you support them. Number two is that you promote a culture of improvement and of always making things better, that you're always thinking and sharing with new things. So that's one of my favorites. I have one more real quick. I'll tell you my second favorite contest we came up with is called General Manager for the Day. And it's the exact same premise, best idea, blah, 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 voted on by the leadership team at one of the regular meetings. But then the difference is the prize. The prize is the employee that wins comes to work at 11 o'clock. When they come to work, they go have lunch right away. They get to bring 3 of their friends. And then after lunch, they go and they play golf. And then they play golf, and then they come off the golf course, and then they sit on the patio and they have a drink, and then they go home. And of course the reason is because that's what general managers do every day. That's what GMs do every day, right? So they get paid. Funny. They get a full paid wage for their day, but they get their own spa day, their own golf day, their own kind of experience where they get to bring friends to see their club. And once again, the number of stories that I've heard and the examples of people that have been still talk about that. I one time won the GM of the Day contest, and this was my idea, and this is what I did, and this is who I brought, and this is my whole thing, right? So that's, there are lots of ways to create that culture, that attitude. My final thing for you, Denny, is I'm a big believer in celebrating acts. Okay, so you don't have employee of the month because it's Susie and she's finally her turn and she no longer comes to work drunk. That's not employee of the month. She
used to
right?
Be so much fun.
She used to be so much fun. But if Bobby or Harry wants to create something to create that culture happening, start to celebrate the acts that people do that are above and beyond, that exceed expectations, that take care of each other or take care of the consumer, of the member. So, and you start to gather these stories of things that people did. So every manager needs to come to every management meeting with at least one act that they have recognized or seen around the facility. And it happens, they just don't talk about it. We are always looking for what to do, how to make someone do better. They screwed up here, they screwed up there. Very rarely do we say, what did they do right? What did they exceed? Where did they go above and beyond? And that's what we want to celebrate. We want to celebrate the act so that all the employees recognize, that's what it means to be recognized. That's what we're striving for. That's the level of getting better that we're looking to do.
Because I think that sort of goes into my last kind of bit or question, which was going to be like, I don't want to say what's the future hold or like, what do you see? But it sounds like recognition is probably the word, or the I don't want to say the trend, but it sounds like maybe, over recognize, over compliment.
Yeah, and I'll talk. You talked about the future because I want to talk about AI and technology. Um, we should say we want to use high tech to increase high touch. Okay, so what makes our club business special is the personal connections that we make with people. That is actually one of the things that's why people join clubs. That's why they used to join clubs. Now they're joining clubs because they want a tea time on Saturday morning at 9:00, and they don't want to be involved in the club. But that, once again, that's a whole other podcast we can do. But the reality is that we from a service standpoint, from an experience standpoint, we struggle to, as managers in the business, we struggle to find the time to spend more quality time developing relationships with our staff and with our customers. You hear it all the time. Where's the manager? They're in the office. Why are they in the office? Because they got 300 emails to answer. They got 40 invoices to process, blah, 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 blah. So ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, video creation. Denny, right now, I could film 1 minute of you talking, okay? And then I can take that 1 minute of film clip, and then I can create 22 training videos that I don't need you for. But those training videos will be you speaking, will be you talking, and it'll look like you, it'll sound like you, it'll talk like you, it'll have a haircut just like you, which I love, by the way. I'm going to go get a wig right after this session. I'm going to start doing my Denny Corby impersonation. I love it. But it's I can make that video with you using technology. So using technology, I can use ChatGPT and type into ChatGPT, write me a training exercise on how to clean a ball washer on the driving range. Okay, or I will say to ChatGPT, ChatGPT, I want, before you write me a training manual on how to do inventory in a kitchen, first of all, tell me what questions I should ask you before you write me that training video, right? Or that training manual. So and by the way, there's also, we could also talk for an hour about the scary elements of AI and ChatGPT and all that stuff. But I'm saying there's no excuse, though. There's no excuse for a manager to say, I don't have time to sit down and write out the 10 steps that it takes to close the golf shop at the end of the night, or to reorganize inventory, or to, we, on our platform, Golf Industry Guru, Denny, we have our own chat bot that you can type in any question, and it will search our library of curated 240 hours of training content to come up with an answer that is from a guru, from an industry expert, right? At a club, you can add your own chatbot to your website that any member could ask any question, and it will come up. You can put the rules of golf in your website chatbot, and so afterwards, when they're arguing over whether Bill should get a penalty for teeing in front of the yardage marker, they can type into the club's chatbot, what's the ruling on teeing in front of the club on the marker, and ChatGPT will search the rules of golf and will give you the exact answer.
Call your local Moyle. No, sorry.
So the future is using technology to help make the training materials that we used to have to spend a lot of money on. Training become inexpensive. Our platform is like literally dollars a day. We train staff because we know that a manager has a difficult enough time doing their day-to-day stuff that adding in the training, right? That someone needs to get, right? So We just added a new employee onboarding course that tells someone that's never worked at a golf course before, what's golf? Like, some people come to work, whoever sits them down and says, here's what a bogey is, or what a birdie is, or here's what they're talking about, or understanding that someone's got a tee time to get to, or whatever it might be, right? So there's all kinds of things that can make training simpler and less expensive than it used to be. We have a training platform for golf courses that costs $3 a day that every employee gets access to. That includes everything from a beverage cart training course to how to use a knife safely to, a safety manual that you can download and make your own, right?
Hope you all enjoyed that episode. I know I did. If you're interested in learning more about James and Gig, head on over to golfindustryguru.com and check it out. If you're enjoying the content so far, like, share, subscribe with someone you like, someone you don't like. It doesn't matter. Sharing is caring. A like, share, subscribe costs nothing. It means the absolute world and helps our channel tremendously. I'm your host, Denny Corby. Until next time, catch you on the flippity flip.